Hi everyone. Today I'm featuring a product as a guest designer for this company, Rinea. They're based in Texas, and what they sell is double-sided paper foil. So foil is really popular right now, but this has a little bit of a different texture than what we might be used to. For example, you may be using the adhesive foil from Cricut, like this here, and it's thin and it's a big sticker, or you just have the very thin foils that you're running through your laminator. This one is a little bit different because it can be cut and it can be embossed and it can be sanded. The reason why this product can have those different qualities is because it is actually adhered to paper already. So you'll see this section here that I tore that shows the paper through it. And then when I sanded it, you can see some of the paper through that as well. Now this embossing that I did with all of these clocks, I hope you can see that on the video, that I did with the Cricut Explore Air. I did that with the scoring tool and just let it draw out all those score lines, and it embossed this foil. So you can see it on both sides. I did use an older Cricut mat that wasn't very sticky, just enough to hold this down so that it could do the embossing. I was also able to use my Cricut Explore Air and cut out individual pieces like these here. Let me move this so you can see the contrast. So it's a clock, and I cut out some gears. So it works just like paper with your Cricut machine. You'll be able to cut out intricate details, even clock hands. All of those can be cut out from this paper. So let me show you the variety that they have. The one that I'm using in today's demonstration is the copper. And so it's matte on one side, or what they call glossy copper and copper. So it's regular copper on one side and it's glossy on the other. The other one that they sent me is silver on one side and gold on the other. So if you can't make up your mind between silver and gold, you have that option right here. So these are all the different combinations that they sell, and you can look it up on their website at www.rinea.com. Okay, so I will just fast forward through the process today so that you can see how I'm putting a mixed media page together in this Dana Weekly Journal. I am using papers from CrafTangles. If you want to see that unboxing and what that paper pack looks like, those are the vintage papers that I'm using from CrafTangles. I'll link it with the letter I right here so you can see those papers if you're interested in getting these for yourself. I'm using some acrylic paints. These are here in Ecuador, so I don't know that you can get these in the States, but I know you can get the similar shade of paint at Walmart or any craft store. I'm also using Winsor Newton. In the States, I used Liquitex or I used Golden, but since I'm here in Ecuador, this is the only brand I can get here, which is Winsor & Newton. It's also a very good, high-quality brand, so I'm glad that I could get those. The matte medium, I use more like a glue, whereas the heavy structure gel, I use to add texture. And I'll be mixing these with these acrylic paints to get some more colors onto the papers. So those should match pretty well to the Distress Oxides in Fossilized Amber and Broken China. To distress the edges, I'm using the Distress Oxide in Walnut Stain. And I'm using, the colors are from this paper line that I've had forever called Lost and Found. And I've been using up these brads little by little in projects and gifts for people. And all of it is going here in the Dana Weekly Mixed Media Journal. Okay, now we'll get started. So in the journal, your burlap page will originally look like this. It looks like a solid piece of burlap, but these edges are not glued, so you can fray these edges very easily. So that's what I've done here. All I've done is I went to this edge here, and you'll see these fibers will come off individually. So I just took off fiber by fiber off of this edge to kind of get that frayed look. You can trim it back further if you want, but I really need this amount of space for my project. So I did a little bit on the top and a little bit on the bottom. But just remember that these are inserted as what's called signatures. So this piece of burlap actually continues all the way to, I'll show you. If I start pulling this piece right here at the bottom, and I pull, you'll see it leads me to this other page over here. This is the same thread that I'm pulling from that other page. That's because these are inserted in as signatures. So here's the front of that piece of burlap, and here's the back. So whatever I did to this side here is also going to come off here unless I actually glue that edge in place and trim it right at the spine. But because I like the frayed edge and I'll probably be cutting these anyway, I went ahead and just took the thread all the way around and saved those fibers to use on my page today. So today's blog post is sponsored again by Rinea. Their website is www.rinea.com. Today's project, I used the glossy copper with copper, and these are the other options that they have. You can go ahead and pause the video if you want to see what other types of foil papers they have. So it was really easy to emboss this or score it with the scoring tool on the Explore Air, and then I sanded it. I cut out the gears and the clock hands all from that paper using the Cricut. I wanted kind of the tarnished look that you get with copper, so I took this acrylic paint, which is an aquamarine or like a teal, and I combined it with some heavy structure gel to make it a little thicker. If you have some really thin acrylic paint and you want more of a heavy body acrylic, but you don't want to buy every single color under the sun all over again, just go ahead and get some heavy structure gel like this one by Winsor & Newton, and it will give you some added texture to your project. So I did that for the background piece, and then I added this yellow to the front piece and just gently brushed it on with some brush strokes. This is a photo of my dad in 1953, and I thought this stamp was very fitting. It's just a piece of ephemera I found, so I printed it out. It says Centennial of Opening of Japan in 1953, and so that was 100 years from 1853. So of course he didn't know it at this point, but he ended up marrying my mom in Japan when he was stationed in Japan years later. So I thought that was a nice piece of ephemera to include. I used my Dymo labeler here. I did staple it down because the adhesive doesn't stick very well. So I usually add like glossy accents, or I'll staple it down like I did here. I attached the entire piece with Winsor & Newton matte medium, but to just make sure that it stayed in place, I did like Dina Wakley recommended, and she said treat this almost like a bulletin board. So I used my Tim Holtz tiny attacher stapler, and I attached this piece with staples on the back as well as this brad, and it just kind of gives that extra security that everything's going to stay in place. 1953, I printed out from Google Docs. I believe the font is called Permanent Marker. It reminds me a lot of my dad's handwriting, so that's why I used that particular font. I added some Distress Oxide walnut stain to those letters, and then I glued them down with some matte medium as well. Then I just topped it off with this little brad from the Lost and Found collection. I believe it's from My Mind's Eye, and that was it. So that is my my guest designer post for this company, and I hope you go ahead and check them out. The double-sided paper foil, very easy to use either with your embossing folders, and then you can use some sandpaper, or you can even use the scoring tool on your die cut machine, and you'll be able to get any number of shapes and other foils to add to your projects. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up and like and subscribe. If you have any questions over any of these products, please post that question below. Check out my blog post for all of the items. If you're interested in purchasing any of those items, I have my affiliate links listed there on the blog post. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.